My dad he went into whatever was making money. He bought the state champion hog one year, and the people thought, you're paying all that money for that one hog? Of course, it was to have many, many, many baby hogs that would be like the grand champion. And those years, you wanted a hog that had lard. Years later, you wanted a hog that would have bacon and ham. But in those years, you wanted lard. Everyone used lard. When I went to school, we carried a paper sack, but many kids carried an empty lard can that had come with lard. And of course, it had been emptied. And they would put their sandwiches in there, and the poor kids would have sandwich with lard, pieces of bread with lard in between them as their sandwich.
What would the other kids have for their sandwich?
I always had peanut butter. My brother had cantaloupe butter. It was just like apple butter because we had so many cantaloupes in the sandy areas of the farm. It was always a one-room country school, and it got so many people who were closer to town. They had 2 big rooms, but it was very much a country school. 1 through 4th or 5th grade in one room, and 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in the other room, with a big bell that they rang for you to come in from recess or noontime. And it was just a lot of fun. But right before my brothers all went there, the land was donated by my grandfather to the school system. The land to put the school on.
Oh, wonderful.
Grandfather. But before I was to go to school, my mother, and I guess you'd have to say in that area they were considered very well-to-do, and a farm, and she became very interested in some club with some lady that she really liked, who lived in not a half dugout, but a house that was underground. This friend of hers lived kind of on the edge of town, but in the country, and it has a basement house. Everything was in the underground, and then the windows right above ground looked out. Mm-hmm. And she became very good friends with this Francis Snyder, and Francis Snyder and she took petition even though my dad was always on the school board, but they took petitions all around to have a little schoolhouse built on the same land there with 1st and 2nd grade only. And so it was built. And Joe was in 2nd grade and I was in 1st grade, and we had a brand new schoolhouse. The basement was built so we could play in the basement during noon hour and recesses and play games there. It had a pump inside the schoolhouse, and this Joe Snyder was a year older than I was, and I remember the kids teased him to kiss this girl of the twins at the pump, and he did. And that's who I married years later, was Joe Snyder.
Okay.
He used to come over when Mother was very sick, and at home, Mother said, you don't have any brothers now living at home? Joe can be your big brother. He used to come over on his bicycle and then later his motor scooter to see me.
What did Joe take for lunch?
I do know. I do know that one time he had big chunks of beef. Everyone ate beef, but poor people didn't probably have that much. But he had beef, and he traded his sandwiches with this poor boy who had lard sandwiches, because Joe liked the lard and the other kid liked the beef sandwiches. And when Joe's mother found out that she had been giving him his good beef roast sandwiches away for lard sandwiches. For a long time, there was a very special sandwich that they used, they called sandwich spread. I think it was kind of like a mayonnaise with pickles and such, ground up pickles in it. It was called a sandwich spread. That was very popular.
Did you buy it or make it?
I think people bought it. Western Energy, I think, was the people. My grandfather had 2 sisters, Grace and Elizabeth. And Elizabeth married Will Morgan, and Will Morgan's son was Bill Morgan, and they married a very rich family. They had vinegar works and pickles they made in Hutchinson. It was a big company. And later they moved out west, and all through the west they carried the brand Western Spread or Western something, and that was their brand.
Okay. What else did people take for lunch?
Not much else. Apples.
Okay. I think you told me that you would sometimes put your fruit in the snow to keep it cold.
Oh, sometimes people would take their apples, or if they're really lucky after Christmas, they may have oranges. Take them outdoors when they got to school and put them in the snow. So at lunchtime, they'd run out in the snow and bring in their frozen fruit and go down to the basement to eat their lunch.